So you found a deal, an investment property, and you're gonna buy it. But what should you do with it? Should you flip it or should you rent it? If you don't already know how to inspect it and you're not sure if you're gonna buy it, we just put out a video, click up here to go through those steps. But assuming you already did that and you know you're gonna buy it, let's figure out what you should do. What is a house flip? A house flip is buying a property, adding value to it, doing something, and then selling that property within a shorter amount of time for a profit. What's this value you're adding? Could be as minimal as landscape, maybe just paint, carpet, or it could go extreme, like we do sometimes, putting in a brand new kitchen, doing new bathrooms, etc. Now, what is a rental property? That's buying a property, maybe doing a little bit of fix up, but usually super minor, putting in a tenant and renting it to them long term. You're making that money over the long run. When I first started, I felt obligated to go into long-term investing because I didn't have any money. I knew what house flipping was, but I thought it took money to make money. And to some degree it does. So I went with a long-term investment strategy and I got excited. I bought my first house, I got my tenant in there, I started making a little bit of money every month. I did it again and again. And this dream of owning all these rental properties, being on the beach, and having all this cash flow come in. However, it just wasn't gonna be a reality because it was gonna take way too long. I wasn't making enough money. You have to make enough and put that together with a long-term strategy. Stay with me till the end because I'm gonna tell you in this current market which investment strategy you should be doing. But before then, let's go over some very important steps that you should take into account when you're trying to decide between which strategy you should do. The first one is the location. Now you already know where the house is that you have. You need to look at what neighborhood is it in. From a flipping standpoint, is it gonna sell quickly? Is it gonna take longer? From the rental standpoint, what type of tenant's gonna wanna live in there? Is there gonna be a lot of theft going on? Is there gonna be damage? Is that tenant gonna pay you rent on time? Or are you gonna have to evict them? Location is super important. The second thing I always look at is there an HOA? Here in the Phoenix Valley, 80 to 95% of houses have an HOA. So you need to look into this. It might restrict you on the flipping side from what color can you paint the house? What can you do to the landscaping in the front and sometimes the back if there's a view fence? What about the facade, the front of the house? What can you do? You need to know the rules. On the long-term rental side, it might restrict you on what type of tenant you can put in there, how long they need to be in the house. You might not be able to do Airbnb, short-term rental, anything in that sphere. You need to know the rules, check out the HOA guidelines. The third thing is something that a lot of investors miss, and that's your overall investment strategy. What this means is, do you want to be a landlord, own a bunch of houses and be in charge of that? Do you want to hire someone to help you manage that? Do you not even want to be in single family and you want to own apartment complexes? You need to know what your overall strategy is. Are you going to flip a bunch of homes? Are you going to take care of the subcontractors? Are you going to hire a GC? You need to think this all the way through, know how you want that end goal to be so you can design it to arrive and actually achieve your goal. And then depending on that, it might tell you which bucket that you should be putting these houses in. The fourth one is the numbers. If we're investing, it's all about where am I putting my cash, where am I putting my money, and what am I getting back? From a flip standpoint, you're gonna be putting in a lot more money. The windfall, how much money you're gonna be getting is gonna be a lot greater. So what is that return? ROI, return on investment. You need to calculate that for the long-term rental as well. However, it's a little bit complicated. One, it's longer. You're gonna be collecting that through the cash flow, the rent every month. But part of that renter's payment is going to pay down your loan. There's generally long-term appreciation involved. You should be taking all those pieces into account in order to calculate your ROI and help decide which way you should go. Especially if you decided to go with a long-term strategy and you were going to do Airbnb or a corporate rental. If you want to know more about these other long-term strategies, leave a comment down below and we'll make sure we get a video for you guys because they can definitely help maximize these long-term strategies to get you a higher ROI. You also should be combining both of these type of strategies, the flipping and the long-term renting, because house flipping is less stable. It matters if values are going up or down on how much money you make. Long-term, it doesn't matter what the value of the house is because you're holding it forever or at least a very long time. Taxes also vary. House flipping, right, it's gonna give you a lot of high income. Long-term, there's depreciation which will help offset that taxable income. So to some degree, you definitely should be combining these. Lastly, is the market. Is the market going up? Is the market going down? It's going to have an effect on these strategies. If you're flipping, the market going up is a good thing. It's going to add more gasoline to the fire, and you're probably going to make even more money than you thought. If it's going down, it could be less. You need to make sure you're offsetting for it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it at all, but the market should give you some insight. Long-term investing, the actual value won't matter. If it goes up or down, if you're holding on to it, what does matter are the rental prices. Now, as we know in 2022, the market is in a downward trend, making house flipping a lot more difficult, especially for new people. So what do I think that you should be investing in 2022? Your main strategy should be long-term investing. We put out videos every Thursday, so stay with me, learn it all. We'll see you until then.